was Everywhere by Fleetwood Mac, where Fleetwood Mac say they want to be with you everywhere. Although, hopefully not everywhere, because you won't want Fleetwood Mac there in the toilet with you. Particularly Mick Fleetwood is actually a very tall man, so you won't want someone who's sort of well over 6 foot in the toilet with you. We'll get a bit cramped. So anyway, that brings the end of today's Up With The Fish, and now it's time for episode 62 of The Fish Tank.
Sit back and relax, because it's time for The Fish Tank.
Hello and welcome to episode 62 of The Fish Tank, and after problems last week with dodgy camera work, I am now in a proper recording studio. Just finished my morning radio show called Up With The Fish that I've done for a whole one time now. So as I say, yeah, we're in a radio studio. Excellent equipment. We've got flashing lights, we've got everything, really. What more could you ask for? So anyway, it's now time for Apology of the Week. Now, as I said on last week's show, there were problems with the video camera where it actually sort of almost began to fall over. I'm prepared this week just in case it does, just to sort of follow it and all that kind of thing. Obviously, last time we were at Whitley Old Cricket Ground, the sound was quite bad, so this time the camera was quite bad. I'll probably have to go there again to get the sound and camera matched up, perfect in sync, but there you go. Actually, last week's show had ridiculously good ratings as well. I'm not exactly sure why that was, but I think it might have been, it was tagged with comments of Paul Jewell's sex video, so perhaps people might have watched it for that. Perhaps people might actually want to see that, I don't know. Or perhaps when people saw a little thing with me stood on it, perhaps they thought I might have been commentating on the Paul Jewell sex video, rather like Alan Hansen would. So I always remember someone, a newspaper report about someone having a night of passion with Alan Hansen, where they said the sex was brilliant, but the analysis afterwards wasn't so good. So what's been going on this week? Well, there's been quite a lot. Princess Diana, the inquest into her death, has just finished, where apparently it was revealed that she actually died in a car crash, just in case you couldn't work that one out. Not sure the exact reasons, but presumably not wearing a seatbelt, a driver being very drunk, and driving well over the speed limit, possibly combined to kill her. But you can't be certain. Mohammed Al-Fayed made some ridiculous accusations. He accused the MI5 of playing a part in the death, MI6, the police force, the government, Prince Philip, the royal family. Although his wildest assertion was actually when he said that he was actually telling the truth. So also the lawyers of Mohammed Al-Fayed have now apparently admitted defeat and say they are no longer following the case under claims that Prince Philip ordered the death of Diana and Mohammed Al-Fayed's son. So I'm not sure what the next step is for Mohammed Al-Fayed. Probably to get a new legal team, you'd have thought, but you can't be certain. And also the judge said that Paul Burrell's evidence was obviously a shambles and was fairly shabby, and accused him of being a liar. So Paul Burrell, who was formerly Diana's rock, although he's obviously now as reliable as a Northern Rock by the sounds of it, who have been a few troubles recently. Obviously, in an attempt to save costs, they've got rid of the head of Northern Rock at a cost of, I think it was £750,000. Makes sense, obviously. But what else has been going on? Well, there's been major elections in Zimbabwe. Robert Mugabe, there are claims that he might be about to lose power, but there's also claims that some of the votes have been rigged, because there's been a long delay in actually getting the votes out and announcing the results and things like that. So it should be interesting to see what happens. Solid voter turnout, though, by the sounds of it. Not often you see 125% of people turn out and vote. Voting amongst dead people was very high, apparently. People that didn't exist, very high voting there as well, so good on them and all that. What else has been going on? There's been embryo research, problems with embryo research. There's scientists want to make embryos sort of like cross species and breeds and things like that to try and aid research into problems like Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, and various other things. This has been done before. There was actually a time when a vulture was crossed with a human in the 1960s. It actually resulted in something called Heather Mills. As a result, the Catholic Church, they're not too impressed about this. They think it's an absolutely terrible thing, and there's been complaints. I think the Catholic Church are a bit jealous because they had an attempt to mate a human man with a choir boy, and it was a very unsuccessful attempt. So that's about it. So it's time for the celebometer now, anyway. And there's a problem in London, and it's a terminal one. Heathrow Terminal 5 opened last week in an attempt to get... Well, the Queen opened it they showed around the terminal. They showed you the check-in. They showed you the place where they lose the bags. They showed you the place where they cancel the flights and that kind of thing. And I had actually hoped to get a representative on from Heathrow Terminal 5. We got him booked and organised and everything. Unfortunately, he's delayed by 45 minutes, so he's not going to be able to make it. That was the original delay. And then apparently it was then delayed by 2 hours, and then 3 hours, and then he's been cancelled altogether. But his bags might arrive in the studio. We're not certain. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens. So now it is time for Headline of the Week. And ironically, this is actually about the Catholic Church. It says, gay marriage is causing painful splits in the Catholic Church. So, understandable. Obviously, it's a very contentious issue. So people will obviously be annoyed about it. And, it's going to obviously cause painful splits. There are going to be some people who agree with it, some people who don't. Obviously. No other reasons for why it'd be painful splits or anything like that. And this quote of the week this week comes from Steve Bruce and was handed to me by Jimbo, fortunately enough, who stood over there somewhere, against the wall, obviously still in the studio. And it says, "We've had a bad day this week." So surely they've had a bad day today, or a bad week. Unless he's just saying that, he's just sort of, just telling the interviewer, we've had a bad day this week, and, perhaps if he was to describe exactly which day it was, then it might help. I was saying that Birmingham won at the weekend, so I don't see why he'd have had a bad day, unless he was betting against them to lose, doing the correct method, which is to back. If you're like a Sheffield Wednesday fan, if you back your team to lose, back the opposition to win, then if you win the game, you lose your bet, but you don't care because you've won the game. But if you lose the game, then you're not that fussed because you won some money. So good tip for betting, that is. So that brings an end to this week's Fish Tank, because I've got to get back on with presenting the radio show. But before I go, I'd just like to say that apparently an elderly woman who murdered her husband has been sentenced to 6 months in prison. Apparently she would have got longer, but the judge was a bit lenient. After all, she's a widow. So there you go. I'll see you next week for episode 63. Goodbye. So that was the traffic and travel, and it's now on to the sport.